Alright guys, what's going on and welcome back to Overunder. Today I'm going to be bringing you some gameplay on Hanamura, and today I'm going to be playing some McCree. So McCree I've avoided playing for quite a while on this account, obviously focusing on the support heroes more than others into Diamond, but now that I'm approaching Masters, I think this is the second game where if I were to win it, I would potentially get into that bracket. Me and the May here in the pre-game lobby, or whatever you'd like to call it. May calls for the Reddit trick or whatever. You might have seen this before, where if the enemy has a May, it fails so badly. It wasn't. It was good in concept, right? But team coordination was lacking, so therefore the strategy, it just didn't work out. But to make the best of a bad situation, I kind of recognized that I was dead. Once I got into that right room there, my Lucio was already toasted. The best thing I could have done in that situation that I recognize immediately is that you need to recognize when you're dead. Alright, so if you're looking to get better at this game, I think the theme of this YouTube channel in general is to try and highlight, hopefully, unorthodox situations where a lot of people won't actually think to take advantage of, but that situation in particular, not the situation where I fed my life to a Reinhardt, getting impatient that my tanks weren't immediately taking advantage of an enemy May wall that had been taken out, but in that situation where I tunnel vision the Ana. In 2 CP maps in general, I think Hanamura is probably the strongest candidate for that strategy. If you can recognize that you were dead, right? You were 100% dead, no matter what you do. The only way you're getting out with your life is God mode, and because I don't have God mode in this game, the best thing you can do is to try and get a trade onto an enemy hero that is killable, and if not, try and just deal as much damage as you possibly can before you go down, with the objective, of course, of taking them out. That Ana in particular, I definitely thought if I could land my shots, she would go down like a sack of shit. Thankfully, she did, but the reason why that pickoff in particular wasn't a pickoff that gave us too much of an advantage is because the push that ensued afterwards, we didn't capitalize on it. So when you're taking out a hero in 2 CP maps, you want to recognize that if you're on the offense, the enemy is going to take a lot longer to get back to their defensive positions than you are going to take to get back into your offense positions. And when you make trades like that, you always want to recognize that when you're back at the choke point, chances are the enemy that you took out with you is not going to be there. And I think a really strong strategy on Hanamura specifically, right? If you're in a group of players or you're vocal in a solo queue situation, if you can take advantage of that first initial push, when no team on either side has an ultimate at the ready, you take the fight on even grounds, the 6 versus 6. If you can just bum rush the enemy 6 versus 6 and get 1 or 2 kills, if that is your objective, right? Like on paper, it looks pretty backwards and inefficient to do, but if you can jump the enemy team 6 on 6 and kill 2 heroes, what this is going to do is enable push number 2 to be the push that is successful. It's a little bit narrow-minded to have the objective of immediately jumping in 6 on 6 and killing off the whole enemy team and taking the first point. That's obviously an objective that would be ideal. That's the situation that you're going for. That enables you to snowball the second push. Perhaps maybe you'll have ultimate charges very close, if not already at the ready, when the enemies will obviously be nowhere near if you completely steamrolled them in the first place. But I like to think of these 2 CP maps, these Hanamura's Temple of Anubis and Volskya Industries. You got to think of them like a game of pool or a game of snooker, whatever, billiards, your term of choice for that little activity. And what I mean by that is that the first shot that you take doesn't always need to be the shot that lands into the pocket. Sometimes just setting up that second shot is the strategical superior move to make. The game of chess is a little bit more complicated than a game of pool, but you don't need to complicate things too much. Just recognize these simple things that can give you advantages. And I think as Overwatch is developed more. The community's approach to the game is more educated. When I say that is what I really mean. That is when these things will start to be more clear, perhaps. But I want to highlight them now because I think it's important to realize that concepts like this in first-person shooter games, like, they're not new by any means. And if you can recognize things like this, it's going to make you a stronger player in the long run. And I don't see really anyone talking about it, which is kind of strange because they are strong. But one example from a game that isn't Overwatch, that is kind of like a parallel concept that you may be aware of and you're not connecting the dots already, is that in Counter-Strike, right, there is this concept of an eco round. Now, I don't really play Counter-Strike, but I'll try and make this work for those who don't play it either. In Counter-Strike, it works on a round-to-round basis. If you win a round and get if you win a round, you get extra money. If you get kills onto enemies, you also get extra money. So, if you're winning, you're going to be loaded in dough. But if you're losing, if you lose a round, you get less money, and if you get no kills, you don't get that additional money that the enemy will have over you. So, what this can do in Counter-Strike is that if a team is dominating, they're going to have the money advantage. And what this means is that if you have more money on a round-to-round basis than your enemy is, you're going to have the stronger guns. And this is going to just snowball the enemy to a point where it can be quite difficult to bring things back into your favor because you have the weaker weapons in your arsenal. So as long as the enemy team play a little bit, if you play like identically in skill level, because you're mismatched in the weapons department, the enemy is always going to have that advantage. But the concept of an eco round is if you've lost many rounds in a row, or you're just completely out currencyed or what's the term I'm looking for? If the enemy is just dominating you in the bank account department, what the losing team can do is make a conscious decision to gear up in the most inexpensive weapons possible, not with the objective of winning the round, but instead of playing economically and actually saving for the rounds to come. So let's pretend if you're on a losing team, you get $2,000 per round, and you spend $2,000 per round on these average guns, these guns that aren't really that great. Forgive me if I get some numbers wrong, but it should paint the picture regardless. But what happens is that we'll do this over 2 rounds in particular. If you spend $2,000 per round and you're just getting dominated every single round, what you can do for the 2 rounds following is that if you spend $500 on round number 1, instead of having $2,000 to spend on round number 2, you now have $3,500 to spend. You can see why this can be a play you can make into bringing your team back into the game. This concept in Overwatch hasn't been completely fleshed out, and it rears its head in many different situations. This Hanamura pushing situation is just one that I will highlight for today's video, but let me know if that's a concept you'd like for me to explore further into the future. It does show itself in many different ways, some more subtle than others, and myself, I'm just trying to come to terms with all the different ways that you can take advantage of these eco situations, such as holding ultimates on purpose and baiting the enemy to use theirs, so you can go into the next push with an ultimate advantage. There is a lot of concepts within this game that are very new, as this game is very short into its current life cycle. And I think we'll see concepts like this develop into the future, but I want to make you aware of them. I want to talk about things like this on this YouTube channel more often. If you have anything you want discussed, just hit me up in the comments. My channel is still quite small, so I do pay attention and reply to a lot of the comments, but I apologize if I don't reply in a timely manner. Forgive me, I don't really pay too much attention to the speed in which I respond, because I generally wait a long time in between sources of feedback. But hopefully you guys learnt a little bit from this video. Thank you very much for watching it. And in general, if you're struggling to get into Masters, just take a bit of comfort. If you watch the gameplay, like, I didn't play like a god. I just tried to position well and minimize my own mistakes, and the rest of it just fell into place. But for the first time this season, we get ourselves into Master, so that is very nice. But that is all time I have for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys later in the next video.